Thank you.
Well, we might pass over then. I'm going to pop us back on speaker view, and I'm going to share Spencer's screen. I would like to, before I hand over to Spencer, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Spencer. So I met Spencer at the Woodford Folk Festival over Christmas, and he was giving a presentation about the glossy cockatoos in the Sunshine Coast, and his quest really to save them from habitat destruction in our area. And I'm not gonna do a spoiler here and tell you what Spencer's going to talk about. But I was absolutely astounded by his ability to share important messages in a really engaging way. So I asked Spencer a couple of things. One is if he would be involved in my next book project, and also whether he would come and talk to us today. So I'm really, really excited that Spencer has allowed us to hear a little bit about what he's done. Since then, I've spent an entire day in the Wallam with Spencer, and I didn't see a single black cockatoo, did I? And you know what? I didn't miss them at all, because I learned more about the Wallam and the habitat there than I ever knew existed. So I'm hoping that Spencer is going to enthrall you just as much as he did me on that day. So I'll pass over to Spencer, and I'm going to disappear out the screen so you can do your thing. But let's share your screen. Can someone give me a bit of a thumbs up that they can see Spencer on the screen? All right, we're looking good, Spencer. And you can just click that when you need to. Sound good? Or roll. All right, you're on. Give him a round of applause, even though he can't hear it. Go, Spencer. That's a good idea. I got that there.
Hello, everyone. Thank you to Sarah for inviting me to come and speak today. It's brilliant to come and share my journey with you all of conservation and save sunrise glossies. Just having a tiny, 1 second. There we go. It's working now.
You okay?
Yeah. So I've been trying to protect my local habitat for the amazing glossy black cockatoos. They're a vulnerable species under the EPBC Act, which is National Threatened Species and Conservation legislation. And they are really incredible birds. I first started my conservation journey when I went to my local environment group and I met Glossy Bob Carey, and then Isabel and Bob and Tim, who have been observing our local glossies for a long time, Bob and Isabel for over 25 plus years. And they taught me all about the glossies. Bob took me down to see the glossies drink, and this photograph you can see here on the screen was actually taken of a particular pair, which I called the T for 2 birds. And as I was taking this photograph of them, Bob said that the tree they were feeding in, as well as the whole forest of 5.8 hectares, was going to be destroyed. And that's when I knew that I'd have to stand up and try and protect this incredible forest. So the first thing I did really was to do a drawing, which I entered into my local bird art competition, the Australian Realistic Art Prize for, no, Australian Bird Art Prize for Realistic Bird Art, and I was a runner-up in the junior competition for that.
Okay, Spencer.
I'm just yeah.
At a specific side.
Yeah, just the slides have skipped forwards. Okay, there we go. So what I've done to protect my local habitat, so I set up a petition on change.org with the help of a friend, and I managed to get 84,000 people plus to sign my petition, and I held glossy kids strikes at Grass Tree Court. I was a recipient of the Jane Goodall Roots and Shoots mini grant in 2023, and that gave me the opportunity to do a calendar for 2023, and I've actually done a calendar for 2024 as well for this year. And I set up Save Sunrise Glossies to continue my conservation work and to help save this amazing habitat at Grass Tree Court Sunrise Beach, which I was trying to protect.
That's it, you just click, there you go.
So these are the glossy black cockatoos that I was trying to protect, and they're absolutely incredible birds. You can see here the difference between a male, female, and a fledgling. So the juvenile here, or fledgling, is Fledge, and that's his mum and dad, and they were the birds called the T for two birds that started my conservation journey. And you can see every single female glossy has a unique head pattern of yellow on their head. So I know all my local flock of glossies by their yellow on their heads.
Let's use that arrow if it's easier.
And these are some of the other black cockatoos. So there's the red-tailed black cockatoo. I'm not going to go into them too much today, the other how to identify black cockatoos, but I just thought I'd show you so you know how to ID them. And then this is the yellow-tailed black cockatoo as well, which sometimes people can get confused with the glossies. And I'm actually would love if you could take a photo or a screenshot of my slide at the end of this presentation, where I'll have my contact details, and you can actually let me know if you've seen the glossies, and please let us know, because it's really important that we know where they are so we can help protect their habitat. So this is what the glossies eat. So they're really fussy eaters. They only eat she oaks or alocasuarinas and casuarinas, and they only eat certain types of she oaks as well. And also, on top of that, they actually choose favored feed trees. So you might have 100 trees of she oaks, and they may only feed on one. So that's really just how fussy they are. And you can see here the seed of this black she oak cone, which is the she oak in my local area, and it's 5 millimeters long, and that's what the glossies eat out of the cone, and then they drop the remnants of that cone onto the ground, which is known as an ort, which is an old English term for a scrap of food. So this is my local Wallam ecosystems at around my local area in Noosa, and these ecosystems are all around Sunrise Beach Grass Tree Court, which was where I was trying to protect. And you can see there's the Wallam woodland, so that's where the glossies live. And then the dry heath, which is where you get threatened species like ground parrots, and the wet heath and the sedgeland, where you get a lot of acid frogs as well. And then the Melaleuca woodland, which is where the grey-headed flying foxes like to feed. So I've been going around all different places when I've been visiting places like Wollongong and Melbourne just recently to speak at conferences, and on the way back up to Noosa, I've been visiting all these different habitats that the local communities have been trying to protect. And this is just an example of a couple of them. So this is Brunswick Head's Wallam ecosystem, and this is an endangered ecosystem which is listed under the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act, the EPBC Act, and we need Tanya Klebesek to protect this habitat and all of our threatened habitats that have threatened species in Australia, because they are so important for our threatened species. And just these couple of examples of places I've visited are just tiny areas that add up to make a huge difference when it comes to protecting our threatened species so they don't become extinct. And you can see here, so this is the acid frog. So this is a Wallam froglet, and these are really incredible species. They only exist in the Wallam ecosystem, and it was really amazing. Actually, I was down there a couple of weeks ago, or yeah, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and I managed to find these Wallam froglets mating, which is really important to help protect this habitat, to document this so that people know that, and the decision makers know that they're actually breeding in this habitat. And this is another amazing place where I've visited. So this is the Dorrigo Plateau area, and it was absolutely incredible. We went there with Mark, and he's an ecologist from that area, and he's been trying to stop the native forest logging, which is absolutely shocking. And hopefully our decision makers, Penny Sharp and Chris Minns and Tara Moriarty, will stop this destruction of these incredible, pristine, critical habitats in the Dorrigo Plateau area. And you can see just how pristine they are just from these photographs. This photograph of the glossy here is actually one of 4 glossies that was feeding in this tiny little area by the side of the road. We were driving along with Mark, and suddenly I said, "Glossies," out the side of the window, and there's 2 glossies feeding above the car, and Mark swerved off and stopped the car, and then I managed to photograph them. And then these 2 pairs that were feeding flew up into a eucalypt, and the other ones into another eucalypt, and they were doing a mating display. So that was really incredible. And then they were actually checking out hollows to nest in. So that is just how important this habitat is. And that was just in the remnant areas of where all of the areas around us have been destroyed by logging. So we really have to protect these areas for the glossies and all of the amazing threatened species that live here. So these are some of the threats to the glossies. So fire, drought, climate change, and habitat destruction. And the glossies are really just an umbrella species for the Wallam ecosystem, and a really great example of the threats and the things that are happening to all of our threatened species throughout Australia and probably around the world as well. And I think they're just a really good way of showing how all of these impacts are impacting our threatened species around the world. But the glossies are a species that you can relate it to, and they're such an amazing species for us all to want to keep seeing into the future. So these are 2 glossy black cockatoos. One was from Wallam at Brunswick Heads, and one was from Grass Tree Court. And Fledge was the fledgling of the T for 2 birds that started my journey. And both of these birds have died following the destruction of their habitat. So Phoenix died following the fires that killed all of their habitat in Brunswick Heads, and she found shelter in the Brunswick Heads development site, so Wallam, and then she just disappeared. So we think that she was singed by the fires, and then Fledge was killed on a busy road in Noosa after his habitat was destroyed on Lot 6 at Grass Tree Court, and he was really distressed, and after then he flew over to an area that he'd never been to before, and he didn't know. It was a known glossy feeding site, but because it was really a fragmented area and around busy roads and houses, he was killed on the road there. So that was really sad. So what I say is to observe, learn, and protect your local environment. So observing what's around you, recording your sightings, and photographing them just on your iPhone. It's really important to get citizen science of our amazing species and observe your local environment. And this is a really good example of what we found in the Wallam when I was with Sarah. So this plant here is actually called a Macrophyria complanata, and it's a really threatened rare plant in the Wallam ecosystem. It's endemic to the Wallam ecosystem, and it's only found from Brisbane to Fraser Island in that area on a short little strip along the coast, and only from a couple of areas. It's most found in the Noosa area. And we went out in the Wallam and we were walking down this path, and I said, I'm sure that's Macrophyria complanata. And then
he really did.
Yeah. And then we were having lunch and I was looking it up on the phone, and it was, so that was just incredible. And we also saw bearded dragons, variegated fairy wrens, this little weird insect which I can't remember the name, but one of you might know. And then the insect on the end there is a 12-spotted jewel beetle, and it only feeds on grass tree leaves and Alocasarina leaves in the Wallam ecosystem. So that's a really incredible insect as well. And then you can learn about your local environment. So once you've observed the things that live in your habitat and ecosystem, then you can read about them, look them up. There's a lot of amazing books and apps and all sorts of things where you can look up what you've seen and then identify them. And I've made my 2024 calendar, and also my glossy socks as well, to teach people about my local environment, and hopefully they can learn about how important it is to protect their local environments as well, and then hopefully they'll want to protect it. So once you've observed and learned about your local environment, then you'll just have fallen in love with it, and then you'll want to protect it, and you'll just automatically want to do that. So that's what happened on my journey. I just knew I had to protect it once I've seen the amazing biodiversity in that incredible ecosystem. So what I'm doing as a conservationist, so you can see these are just a couple of examples of what I did last year and the beginning of this year. So we visited, so from the top right-hand corner.
Left.
Is it?
Yeah, right. Which one?
Oh, yeah.
Left. Yeah.
Yeah, so top left-hand corner. It's a bit confusing on the screen. So top left-hand corner is from the top to the bottom left-hand corner. So here I am speaking with Bob Brown on a panel, and then I started World Stand Up for Nature Day to educate more people about how amazing and important our ecosystems are and how we need to protect them. And the, bio for the day is to spread awareness of our last remaining wild places and the guardians trying to protect them, and to inspire more people around the world to stand up for nature. And I held the first ever World Stand Up for Nature Day at Grasstree Court on the 9th of September, and I hope that everyone else will want to get involved next year and keep continuing standing up for nature. And then this photograph is of me at the Australian Association for Environmental Education, and I went down to Wollongong for their conference and spoke for Kids in Action. And then that's the World Stand Up for Nature Day flyer for the day that I created, and the logo I made as well. And then this photograph of me with this amazing tree is in Bermagui, where the local community called Bermagui Matters are trying to protect that amazing ecosystem with absolutely giant, incredible trees. And that night we went out spotlighting, and there was actually a yellow-bellied glider that flew over our heads, and it was absolutely incredible. And they have such an amazing call. It's like a really weird yowling kind of screeching. It's amazing. And then this here is a photograph of me with Costa and Elliot Leach, and that was at Woodford when
we met.
I met Sarah. Yeah. So what I've achieved so far, so I've helped get the glossy black cockatoos listed under the EPBC Act, and hopefully I was hoping that that was going to further protect their habitat, but unfortunately our environmental laws only allow for the species to be protected, not the habitat. So that's something that we need to see change. And I've raised awareness throughout my local community in the world. I have raised the youth profile in habitat protection and conservation and future generations with all levels of government. And I've changed legislation. I think this video should play when I get to it. And I've raised awareness of the importance of the environment for a healthy and thriving future for all. And I've protected threatened species in my local area under the Noosa 9 and Co. It was going to be the Noosa 9, but I managed to get them to include all of our threatened species so that all of their habitats could be protected.
Just before this magical little boy disappears, we all know that the development at Grasstree Court was permitted on approvals of a development provided the Environment Authority was submitted in 2006. We argued that 44 glossy black cockatoos now need that habitat. Minister Scanlon has made a decision in the Environment and Other Protection and Other Legislation Bill that the Environment Authority stand for 3 years. If they're not used in 3 years, they fall over and they must be done again. And that is because we gave to her the case example of the trees that young Spencer is telling you about, and the effect that the loss of those trees have had on 44 glossy black cockatoos and the distress that caused to Spencer, young children, and to that community. So hats off to Spencer. He has actually changed the law.
So thank you so much to Sarah for inviting me to come and speak, and hopefully we can work more together into the future. And after hearing my talk and my journey, what do you think you can do to protect your local habitat? Have you got any ideas and any questions as well? And that's my contact details and my email, so that you can send me your glossy sightings as well. So you might want to take a photograph of that. So thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you everyone for listening.
There we go. Yeah, let's give him a big round of applause. I'm coming back into the screen. Just move over a little bit there, Spencer. All right, so you can see me as well. I hope you think that was amazing as I did. Isn't he incredible? So yeah, let's take yourselves off mute here, guys. Let's give him a real round of applause. Well done, Spencer.
That's amazing, Spencer.
Well done.
Amazing. Well done, Spencer. So I'm sure you've got heaps of questions for Spencer. The first one I imagine you're probably going to ask is, how do you have enough time to do this, Spencer? Spencer doesn't go to school, which helps, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It does help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Spencer's homeschooled, aren't you? So you spend a lot of your time learning from the Wallam.
Yeah, definitely, and constantly doing schoolwork and just trying to protect these ecosystems and writing letters to decision makers and everything. It's definitely very educational. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
So,
interesting to learn about what decision makers do and environmental law and all sorts of things as well. Yeah.
very much so. And Spencer and I have had some discussions about this because I was homeschooled as well, and I learned from the world around me, and by doing things that were meaningful to me. And Spencer's doing that, aren't you? You learn English by writing to politicians.
Yeah, definitely.
And you learn your science when you're out in the environment. And so yeah, there couldn't be a better way, I think, for kids to learn. So I'm sure you guys have got some questions. Who'd like to throw one at Spencer?
Can we talk, or do we just
Go
put
for it,
them
Nani.
in?
That's great. Go for it.
Oh, hi, Spencer. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Do glossies ever turn up anywhere else other than in the Wallam? I've got friends who live in the Blue Mountains and they have black cockatoos there, but I'm not sure. I'd have to find out what species they are. But yeah, that's my main question.
So are they just in the Wallam?
Yeah, so glossies are not just in the Wallam, they're the umbrella species for the Wallam.
Yeah.
Because that's the habitat that they really use in my local area and really love to feed in.
Yeah.
So really, glossies are in the Wallam, and they're in dry and wet eucalypt or sclerophyll forest as well. So you will see in like close to rainforest habitats, so really wet gum tree kind of areas and gullies and things, and also in dry eucalypt forest and woodland as well. Yeah.
Okay. So they could be in the Blue Mountains?
They're definitely in the Blue Mountains. Yeah, there are yellowtails there as well, so they could be yellowtails.
They could be, yes. Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, I'll tell my friends to look out for them. I'll send some of the photos of your...
Good idea then, Nani. You might have to send them a calendar, I think, so they can see some good
pictures. Yes, and I'm going to buy some socks.
Good idea. And one of the things that...
Sarah, I met you at Woodford.
Oh, awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
We met there. That's fabulous. But one thing that Spencer wasn't that clear about is that, and I want to toot his horn a bit, is every single picture in here is his picture. So every single thing today, I think, isn't it? Did you take every single picture today?
Every single photo in my talk was by me, apart from I think 3 maybe. So the red tail and one of the yellow tails.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty amazing. So how do you get such amazing photographs, Spencer? Is it something to do with this thing over here that you need to show people?
Oh yeah, I do have a pretty amazing camera, but
that's a camera.
It's not the camera, it's obviously the photographer.
It has to be the photographer. Yeah, well done. Who else has a question? That was a great one, Nani. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to know, I'm not sure if it was mentioned, but where can we buy the socks and the calendar?
I might just, do you want to just put that back up, Sarah?
Yeah, we're going back to
Yeah,
a
so we're
certain-
just going
just find the
to
right one first. Where was it?
just
Just to the end
the
one?
end one.
Okay,
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
that one, okay.
Yeah, so if you want to take a photo of this slide,
Oh,
or
okay, cool.
if you're on a Mac, you can hit
Hit
Shift
delete.
Command free on your keyboard, and that will screenshot it. But yeah, so basically you can buy my calendars and socks at my website, so say sunriseglossies.com.au, and you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and also sign up to my mailing list on my website as well, so I can send you updates. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
thank you.
Thanks for that question, Amanda. That's a really good one. So we mustn't forget that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Madura says, I'd like to do an article about your commitment as a young enthusiast. You'll have to get in line there, Madura, but as soon as he's finished working with me, I'm sure Spencer would love to with you. So Madura
Yeah,
is
definitely, yeah.
Madura writes academic articles, so he'd be interested in working with you on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to. Yeah, and you can email me at saysunriseglossies@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with me as well. Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Kathy says I bought a calendar from the Hinter Hub at Pomona. Well done, Kathy.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. Yeah, we've known each other for quite a while actually. We go to botany group together, so yeah. That's another thing where I've learned as well from my local environment group and the botany group. Yeah, it's pretty amazing the knowledge there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine. Excellent. Who else? It looks like, oh, I don't know. Peter, you've taken yourself off mute. Does that mean you've got a question? Maybe not. It's a bit challenging with audio, isn't it? You can't necessarily get there. Anyone else got a question for Spencer?
Yeah, we've got a question, Spencer. We were just wondering if
You, Sarah. Spencer, please may I ask how old you are?
13, yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. A lot of knowledge in that 13-year-old brain,
Yeah.
isn't there? Thanks for that question, Peter. That's awesome. And Kylie and Leo, would you like to ask yours?
yeah, thanks. Spencer, we were just wondering if with the council elections coming up, if you've had a chance to speak to people at council, or there's anything in that space in terms of protecting various areas around the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah, so are you in Noosa Shire or Sunshine Coast?
We're in the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah, okay, so I haven't spoken to the Sunshine Coast councillors. I've spoken to the Noosa councillors.
So that, yeah, you've actually done a whole series, haven't
Yeah,
you,
I've
of
done a
interviews with
video.
every single
Yeah.
male candidate. So
Yeah, I
pretty good.
interviewed all the candidates that agreed to be interviewed and come around the site with me, and you can see that on my Instagram and Facebook. That's I think the third post on my page. Yeah.
Awesome.
You haven't
Thanks.
got to the Sunshine Coast one
Yeah,
yet.
I haven't done the Sunshine Coast ones. It's so difficult to just get to the Noosa ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
Wow.
definitely important as
So
well. Yeah.
for those of you who aren't in the Sunshine Coast or Australia, we've got a local council election coming up next week, 2 weeks away. So yeah, it's getting a bit interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, very interesting.
Well done. All right, we've probably got time for one more question if anyone's got one.
Just a quick one from me again, if I may.
Yeah, go for it.
If the glossies go into other areas, like say the Blue Mountains, what about these she oaks? Are they there? They're not always there, are they? They can only go to places where they can get the food. Wouldn't that be right?
Yeah, exactly. So she oaks. So that's why the glossies are in those ecosystems, because she oaks, they're the only ecosystems really where glossy.
Okay. Yeah, and there are some of those in the Blue Mountains. Yeah.
so it's
I'm only asking because I live in New South Wales near the Blue Mountains.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah,
Spencer.
there are goats there.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Terrific.
Have Alicasharina torolosa and Alicasharina littorala, so black
Okay.
shear and forest shear, and you might have
Yeah.
another one as well. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank
Another
you.
good question then, Annie. Well done. Well, we are running a little bit short. Well, we've run out of time. I know that you'll agree with me that there was a really good reason to run a little bit over time. And thank you so much, Spencer, for your time today and for the incredible work that you're doing to help save our environment. I know that you guys will join me in feeling that the next generation is stepping up, and it means that our environment is in safe hands. And I know that Wong, that you've always worried what will happen when you're no longer there, and when we've got people like Spencer or Taylor or Leo who can step up and actually do their thing, I think it makes us all feel a bit better, doesn't it?
Definitely.
So well
So
done.
keep up good work.
Thank you very much for that, Spencer.
Yeah,
Now
thank you.
I'm just going to share my screen again just to tell you I'm actually ahead of the game on next month. So next month's World of Wildlife in April will be these times. Here we go. It's always on the 10th of the month. So the 10th of April, and these are the times. So I'm really sorry for those of you that it's in the middle of the night, but we're doing the best we can. Our speaker is in London, so that's why we have to pick this sort of time frame for next month. Our speaker is Claire Thompson, who Wong knows really well because she spent some time at the Sun Bear Centre, but 2 months ago, was it, Wong? She was there 2-3 months.
Yes, yeah, 2-3 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so what Claire does is she does some energy healing with the bears, and which I understand have had some pretty important effects on the bears' psychology, and yeah, she's going to talk to us about energy healing, about all sorts of other types of non-traditional healing methods. So I think it's going to be really interesting. Hopefully you'll all be there for that. All right, just let me remind you too that we've got the World Wildlife Day sale of my books on our website, and it ends today. So if anyone feels like they need a copy of Wildlife Wong books, then yeah, go to that website. Other than that, I think I'd just like to say thank you very much to everyone for coming. I hope you'll come back next month. We'll send you an email reminder of when it's on, and talk about Claire again, so that you're reminded about who she is. And since you've been here now, you're invited every single month. We get a different speaker every month, and you get to find out what's happening with Tina, how she's progressing with walking in the forest as well, which is also a big bonus. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Spencer, for coming. See you guys.